All right, next we have Tennessee. Their line is set at 6.5. Tennessee, interesting case, of course, firing Jeremy Pruitt and then replacing him with Josh Heupel, which did not inspire a ton of confidence from most people. However, a bit of an offensive mind, and it is a quarterback battle there. Joe Milton is the favorite right now, the transfer from Michigan. There's also Harrison Bailey. Hendon Hooker was pretty good for Virginia Tech. So there's some talent there in the quarterback room. Pretty good running backs, Tyon Evans and Jabari Small. Feel like they've been flashing pretty good in camp. And there's some talent at receiver and offensive line, although this was a team that was hit very hard by the transfer portal. And they've recruited fairly well recently, but man, so many of those guys walked out the door. They're relying on a lot of unproven players on defense. The star is Alontae Taylor. I think it feels like he's kind of the name. And they did bring in Juwan Mitchell, the linebacker from Texas, who led Texas in tackles last year, actually. So he's a pretty good player for Tennessee. But a lot of the rest of the team is just very unproven. So what do you feel about this program specifically this year, but then also just as a program as a whole?
Well, for this year, 6.5 is a bit much for me. I'll be going under. I think it's I've made fun of Tennessee and their coaching hires or lack thereof in previous pod, and I think it's going to kind of I'm not sure. The correct answer there is I'm not sure. I do know that they could have gotten a name that a lot of people would have been much more comfortable with than Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel was not a guy when you think of Tennessee and the guys that Tennessee goes after. He wasn't really like one of those guys, and he's like they hired him like okay. The quarterback situation is interesting. They have 4 guys that could win that job. It'll probably be Joe Milton. You mentioned the transfer in from Michigan, Hendon Hooker from Virginia Tech, another transfer in. They have, I don't understand the guy that they I think should go with is Harrison Bailey. Like he's the guy that last year Coach Pruitt should have been starting, and he was not starting it. It made just baffling. I didn't understand it at all. Brian Maurer, another guy that's been there, he started 2 years ago.
I believe he just announced that he's transferring.
Okay, gotcha. So we're down to 3 then. So he lost apparently. But for me, the guy should be Harrison Bailey. I think that they probably will end up going with Milton, with Joe Milton from Michigan. Hope they don't. Hope to not see that happen. But the offense it's going to be a different offense, I think, than what we had seen. They're going to, at least if the track record remains the same, it's going to be they're going to be taking some shots. They're going to be airing it out. Jalen Hyatt, kind of a guy, just kind of a name that just kind of is kind of a potential breakout player, I guess, if you will. They have building blocks there. They're not without talent. The Mays brothers, Cade Mays, a transfer, former 5-star, and they're now on the offensive line. Really, really good ball player, going to be playing on Sundays. So there is still guys there. You mentioned got crushed by the transfer portal. The linebacker, Henry Tiao, going to Alabama, is going to be a stud at Alabama, and that hurts a lot. They lost a couple of starters to Oklahoma as well. So I have the under. I think this is a safe bet. Of all the bets in the SEC, I think this is probably the safest. Don't see how they get there just because they don't have the depth. I don't think that the other teams do.
Yeah, I would agree with you as far as just this feels like a very safe bet. Definite under. And if the line was set a full game lower, I might still go under. To me, 5 and 7 feels fairly likely. Just looking at the schedule, they also play, besides their normal SEC schedule, they play Pitt in the non-con. And I just trust Pitt more than Tennessee right now. I feel like that's probably a loss for Tennessee. Yeah. And the one thing that would maybe give me some pause and just a little bit of hope for this team is that Heupel, for his shortcomings, he is a much more innovative offensive mind than anything Tennessee has had recently. So even if they just figure out a way to play offense like college football teams are supposed to play offense, maybe that's enough to win them a few extra games just based on their talent. Because it does feel like their talent was being shortchanged by just the system the last several years. Because I don't think this is, even with all the losses, I don't think this is like a 5-7 team talent wise. I just think that there's so much that's not proven. This feels like a pretty safe under to me.